And this map lets us tell one of the greatest Tampa Bay and Hillsborough County stories that I think can be told, and you'll see why. Here is the peninsula of Florida over here, Gulf of Mexico, Mississippi River, Mobile Bay, Pensacola, but importantly, there is an inset of what the Spanish called the Bay of Espiritu Santo, Bay of the Holy Spirit, known to us as Tampa Bay. In this map, north is at the left, so to look at it the way we might today, turn this inset 90 degrees because this is Tampa Bay. Here is where the Sunshine Skyway is located. Here is the Interbay Peninsula, and if you look very closely, you'll see a small line that is the Hillsborough River. But the important word there is Hillsborough. When the British owned Florida suddenly and were trying to determine what it was they had, they sent a survey team to Pensacola with instructions to survey the Gulf Coast of Florida. And during the summer of 1765, that survey team from Pensacola spent the summer in Tampa Bay doing the first thorough survey of Tampa Bay. They decide to name this upper right corner of Tampa Bay Hillsborough Bay in honor of the Earl of Hillsborough, who at that time was president of the Board of Trade in London and had a certain amount of political power. But that's not the rest of the story. The rest of the story is that 3 years later, the Earl of Hillsborough was not only Lord Hillsborough, but he had been named Great Britain's Secretary of State for the colonies, and it was his responsibility, along with others, to make policy decisions relative to the rebelling colonies. And in that position, he and General Thomas Gage made the decision, for example, to send British troops to a place we know as Boston, and of course we also know that did not go very well. Benjamin Franklin is a diplomat in London at the time, and the legislature in Massachusetts retained Benjamin Franklin to go visit with Lord Hillsborough to try to negotiate some of the issues between Great Britain and the colonies. Benjamin Franklin was a natural person to choose for that role because Franklin at that time was generally in favor of the American colonies being part of the British Commonwealth with perhaps more home rule than the British normally gave their colonies. But we don't think that Benjamin Franklin was really thinking very much about independence. So Benjamin Franklin goes to see Lord Hillsborough, presents his credentials, and Hillsborough replies, "Dr. Franklin, I don't recognize your credentials or accept your credentials because they are not signed by the Royal Governor of Massachusetts." To which Benjamin Franklin replies, "Your Excellency, I'm not here representing the Royal Governor of Massachusetts. I'm here representing the people of Massachusetts, and they have some issues that I'm here to talk with you about." Well, Hillsborough was not very impressed with all of that, but nonetheless invited Benjamin Franklin for a visit to his home castle some months later for a week of consultations. Franklin left in a huff after 3 days, soon to return to America, and said to other Americans, "We might as well have a revolution. We will never have an agreement with the British."